Hello there, dear viewer, welcome to the Skyrim build, which I wanted to be a relatively simple warrior for a change, but it ended up a tad more complicated than expected because of the sheer amount of different items he ends up using and a slight admixture of stealth perks, especially modded Ordinator perks. It is not an Ordinator build, however, it uses way too many skills to work well with Ordinator. It is a Vokrus build, or Vokrus. Vokrus is a small mod reintroducing a small selection of Ordinator perks into Vokrii. It is a decent fusion of both approaches, which still allows for scatterbrained, many skills, widespread builds. On the roleplay front, this build is what the game expects your character to be, a mercenary at heart and by profession, fighting for gold, fame, and most importantly, for magic loot. As he travels through Skyrim, he gets more and more obsessed with wealth and starts to hoard magic weapons and armors like a veritable treasure hunter. He also likes to show off his arsenal, so he carries more weapons than necessary. He is a bit like a Second Amendment guy, but for swords. In the end, he wants to have all the best houses and all the most expensive weapons in the game, but he may yet discover there are things more meaningful than wealth. He is also a perfect character if for whatever reason you would like to replay the Thieves Guild with a warrior build. It will be very beneficial to join that faction, as you will definitely need the ability to sell stolen items, and preferably before the speech perk may allow for it. For the mods, we need these ones. Here, Ordinator is on the list because you need to have both Ordinator and Vokrii installed for Vokrus to work. Load them in this order: Ordinator, Vokrii, then Vokrus. The glorious mercenary is not a mere brute, and despite his considerable fighting skills, he likes to have a plan, not just rush into the fray like some darn barbarian. That's why he combines stealth, crossbow shots, with close combat and traps. He likes to place a tripwire in front of himself, then open fire from one of his crossbows. Then, if anything survives his archery, they will approach and fall down on that tripwire, getting a rather impressive armor rating penalty of 1000. At this point, he switches to melee, obliterating his helpless enemies. This combo is the main reason for Vokrus to be used. Actually, not just main, the only reason. We also use good old Andromeda standing stones, and in keeping with the theme of greed, we go with the completely broken standing stone of the tower. Money, money, money. Money, money, money. Money, money, money. Money, 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 money. It will provide you with all the enchanted items you may possibly need, but they will often need to be stolen. That's why you need to join the Thieves Guild. The Tower Stone will grant you a never-ending quest directing you to rather insane loot chests, which will become even more insane over time as you unlock the Vokrii treasure hunter perks in lockpicking. The stone is also buggy, unfortunately. It can direct you to unreachable and quest-locked chests at times, at which point you just switch to the Lover Stone, which will grant you an enchanted item from time to time anyway. The Tower Stone quest is forgotten, and then you can re-enable the tower if you feel like going for another treasure hunt. We also use Aetherius races, as it retains the Imperial luck buff, so you find more gold, but it also grants you a completely broken buff of 25 points to each of the 3 attributes, which is a little bit insane, especially early game. At least with heavy armor and a crossbow that you can now buy as soon as you arrive in Whiterun, and a few perks in your main skills, you can become a death machine quite early with this one, and also become quite rich quite early, which pretty much is what you want to do with this character anyway. And then we absolutely need Summermyst. Given his obsession with gear, he will want his armor and weapons to work wonders together, like a deadly symphony of whirlwind death. While he can, as a Thieves Guild member, use 2 of the most OP swords in the vanilla game, Nightingale Blade and Chillrend, we will never attain the smithing skills necessary to improve them, so in the end the swords he can find or craft with his very basic understanding of enchantment enchanting will complement his fighting style better. And because he is absolutely obsessed with gold, he will most obviously want to wear the Golden Saint armor as soon as he gets his hands on it. This armor doesn't come pre-enchanted, so that's why he needs some basic training in enchanting as well. Summermyst is going to be the key to everything. So, as mentioned, the race is the Aetherius Imperial, fitting the roleplay idea perfectly. The standing stone is the tower, switching to the lover and back depending what you currently want to do. The lover will also grant you a death save once every 15 minutes in the form of the undying love power. I guess in his case it's the love of money. It is absolutely gorgeous for a heavy armor build which is durable by itself. Then for the attributes, simply a 50-50 spread between health and stamina is good enough. You could opt for a bit more health to be even more beefy, but with Vokrii one-handed perks your overall power attack damage will be affected by your current stamina, and with a decent absorb stamina weapon the attribute will remain high at all times. Well, most times. Sometimes you want to use a different set of weapons, just for fun. Now let's talk about the skills. Obviously we want one-handed with the entire dual-wielding branch and all the power attack perks on the right-hand side. However, the Valorous Charge perk can be skipped this time, as you will often prefer to take down your enemies at a distance and switch to melee only after the enemies come to you, so no need for closing the gap very fast. I still took it as it may be occasionally useful, and it works so nice with the Crater Maker, giving you a 1 in 4 chance to knock your target to the ground with a forward power attack. Furious Strength will improve your power attack damage by 10% per 100 points of current stamina, and it is quite important to us as we can't really do much smithing magic on our weapons. We can do some, but we won't be perfect at that. Late game, the Victory Rush perk will restore 150 points of stamina on a kill, which will keep your stamina high. We will reach this perk via the Sword branch with just 1 rank of overpowering assault. In heavy armor we want the entire left-hand branch, obviously. If you have a heavy armor build in Vokrii, you definitely want these perks. Early game battle fatigue perk will make the low stamina enemies deal less damage to you, and with a decent absorb stamina sword you can keep one enemy on low stamina at your leisure at all times. Meanwhile, your overpowering assault perk in one-handed will penalize their damage output by a bit after you hit them. Later on, Reap the Whirlwind will make you deal 20% more damage to enemies who just attacked you, and your other sword with the Drain Armor enchantment will drain armor rating from them, resulting in even more damage from you. On the right, we want to go for fit training and the matching set. Matching set is necessary because of your imperfect smithing skills. With the late game Golden Saint armor and even perkless smithing, you will still get close to the armor rating cap just because of this one perk. Tower of Strength can be useful, but considering you will deal with some enemies at distance, you may skip it. Without double enchantment or any other means of decreasing the incoming spell damage, you may also decide to unlock the Elemental Defense perk, reducing the elemental damage by 15%. Not much, but better than nothing. Mostly you want to deal with spellcasters at a distance with sneak attacks, and when fighting dragons you may need to tweak your gear and replace your usual necklace with the appropriate elemental resistance one. So situationally, Elemental Defense might be somewhat useful and stuck with something. Still, don't waste a perk point here if you can deal with most magic enemies through stealth and sneaky means. Speaking of which, here is the archery perk list. We need to reach the impaling shot somewhat fast. As mentioned, you will often open combat with a crossbow sneak attack. If they survive it, they will start running towards you, and with impaling shot they will take ongoing damage when running after you hit them with a bolt. One of your crossbows should have a decent ongoing damage enchantment, like the disease damage or fire damage lingering, to stack with that ongoing damage of the perk. If they survive all this, they will fall on your tripwire, allowing you to annihilate them fast with your swords. All the ingredients for this insane combo can be unlocked relatively early in the game. You can probably have it all around level 20, and the game will start getting much easier from that point onward. However, we should also go for power shot, ranger and quickshot later, making our crossbow more of an universal weapon. A crossbow of any kind already has a good chance to stagger an enemy. With power shot, it gets even better. So as they approach you, suffering from two kinds of ongoing damage, you can make their progress towards you even more daunting and dangerous with frequent stagger. Then Eagle Eye and 1 rank of Steady Hand were also taken just to make the far distance sneak shots easier. Steady Hand can be safely skipped. Then in Sneak we want to go for the Deadly Aim, of course, and 1 rank of Silent Movement. Yes, I know it's a heavy armor build, but the thing is, the skill is needed only to deliver a long distance sneak attack, and for that only a very limited amount of sneak perks is necessary. Very late in the game you may even be able to land some sneak attacks with your swords, especially against the Draugr, as they have horrible detection. So at this late point you may also consider Blind Spot, which makes it harder to detect you at close distance. But most bloody importantly, we have 2 wonderful Ordinator perks brought into Vokrii by the Vokrus mod. Vokrus, I have no idea. Tripwire, which allows you to place a tripwire wherever you need one. It will make enemies crossing it fall to the ground. With Whiplash they will also get a penalty to armor rating of 1000.
If I ever find one of these lying around again, I swear to fucking God, I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
Then for roleplay and fun, we need 5 perks in lockpicking. They won't have much to do with picking locks. Looter will increase your chances of finding gold in chest, and Treasure Hunter will give you a 50% chance to find an extra weapon or armor piece in non-boss chests and containers in dungeons. I would strongly advise against unlocking the Archaeologist for this build, as the Tower Stone shenanigans will make it completely redundant. And we also want the Dungeon Master to defeat our enemies with their own traps, if our own tripwire is not enough. With Lightfoot in Sneak you won't even trigger most traps, but your enemies will, and with Dungeon Master they will take 5 times the normal damage from them. Then in Speech we take the entire barter branch on the left, with the Fence perk being highly optional, useful only if you don't want to join the Thieves Guild. With the Tower Stone it may be useful to have the perk just to liquidate the insane amounts of heavy, expensive items slightly faster. Either way, you will be making money extremely fast with this build, allowing you to buy all the modded castles you may want and all the pre-made alchemical concoctions from apothecaries and alchemists across the land, which for a non-crafting or low crafting builds can be quite a useful boon. Basically, visit your local alchemist at each opportunity and buy the best elemental and magic resistance potions you can. You will definitely need it at times. Also, buy all the filled soul gems you see. These will come in handy for reloading and crafting. Lastly, for legendary difficulty, let's take mastery in enchanting and just nothing else. We need no other crafting perks, although smithing, while unperked, should be quite high, preferably at 100, but at least 80 before you craft your end game set. This is a rather perk hungry build, and with all the optional perks you will need to play beyond level 50 to get them all. They are all marked optional for a reason though. The build will work as intended without them, and without optionals you can complete the build exactly at level 50, so all is right in the universe. Now finally, the gear section. I carried a lot of stuff at all times with this character, so remember to buy a backpack and get the Black Market Black Book power, so you can sell excess loot fast and easy. Overall you will accumulate so many enchantments and stuff, there is no reason to stick with just 1 or 2 weapons. Switching between them also makes the game a little bit more interesting with a warrior build, so in the end I played this sneaky warrior build with a mindset of a mage a little bit, switching my weaponry, trying to get the best tool for any given situation, like most mages treat their spells. For the armor and apparel, we will need to keep our golden armor we get from Saints and Seducers quest line safely locked until we have our crafting skills ready, at least 2 items of peerless smithing and some enchanters and blacksmiths elixirs. Once that's all available, make yourself these items here. You may have noticed the lack of magic or elemental resistance. That's because most mages were dealt with at range, as mentioned, and the necklace was treated as a moving piece. I had a few other necklaces hotkeyed and was equipping them as needed. In the very least, I recommend having one with magic resistance and one with fortified sneak attacks. Link health and stamina will do wonders for us, as we have an even spread between the two, so it means 25% increase on both. It's a rare enchantment, but with your Standing Stone and Private Stock perk and the Magic Find enchantment on your armor, you will get one sooner or later. Magic Find was placed on armor. It grants you a little bit of a chance to find a magic item on a slain enemy. It's not that useful, it's mainly for roleplay. Feel free to replace it with something more powerful if you so choose. But with the weapons, it got way crazier than just one moving slot. The most basic set was 2 golden swords, one with absorb stamina and other with drain armor. You don't necessarily need to carry all of these swords here at any given time. You can keep them in your vanity room for the right time. However, with high stamina and the black market power, I started carrying most, if not all of these at any given time for convenience. We have the 2 golden swords against warriors, absorb stamina and drain armor as mentioned. These combine nicely with a few of our perks. But for fun and crowd control, we have a dagger of Threshold Throw and a sword of Clumsy. Threshold Throw should go on a dagger in your left hand, as you need several consecutive applications of this effect to launch an enemy away. It will go much faster with a dagger in your left hand and the Dual Flurry perk. Meanwhile, Clumsy will prevent enemy from power attacking. Then we have a dagger and sword set against mages. The dagger with damage magicka and the sword with counter spell. Counter spell will in the end give you a 25% chance to interrupt spell casting and drain a quarter of the target's magicka. As also mentioned, we use a crossbow with disease damage. Some enemies are immune to it, but against the living it's the best form of ongoing damage in the Summermyst mod, and a more universal crossbow is the one of paralysis. This is a lot, I admit, but it is part of the character concept and I wouldn't have it any other way. One thing this character will never complain about is lack of enchanted items. There's even more you can test and try. There's absorb speed and absorb armor, and whatever strikes your fancy you should probably try using. So what do we get in the end? We get a tanky fighter with quite a few tactical options, using stealth as a secondary supporting playstyle and enhancing his warrior play by some clever trap placement. He plays exactly as I hoped, like a rather intelligent calculating warrior as opposed to a hot-headed raging one I played too many of. The crossbow tripwire combo is rather satisfying, the quest for wealth and fortune is quite easy to accomplish, and playing through the Thieves Guild with a tank is somewhat amusing. It's a success, I would say. Share your thoughts down there, like, subscribe, consider supporting me via subscribe star or super thanks or, I don't know, a carrier pigeon, and we will see each other again. Bye bye.
Money makes the world go round, the world go round, the world go round.
I can still fucking see you, Mini-Me!